For the final interview as part of our 2019 federal election coverage, I am pleased to welcome local Green Party candidate, Cass Romyn. She's graciously agreed to sit down with us in the studio to discuss the issues that matter to her, the Green Party, and the constituents of the Sturgeon River-Parkland riding. Thank you for being with us in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So, first question we have for you today. What got you interested in politics in the first place?
Well, I've always been an activist, specifically for animal, environmental, and social rights. And at a certain point, I realized that we could yell at our governments and corporations all we want, but in the end, politicians are the ones who have the power to create actual change, along with the power consumers have, of course, in our capitalistic society. I also worried about my daughter's future and the future of all Canadians. And although I realized the Green Party's values aligned with mine a few years ago now, I realized about a year ago, now is the time to act.
It's very insightful.
Thanks.
As students, we have vested interest in how national decisions will affect our opportunities for success in our future. How will your party engage with and address the interests of young Canadians?
That's a great question. The Green Party of Canada wants to see all Canadians involved in our democracy, from lowering the voting age from 18 to 16, to implementing a Council of Canadian Governments comprised of representatives from our federal, provincial, municipal, territorial, and Indigenous governments, with the intention of collaborating on policies, priorities, and governance. We also have a group called the Young Greens, which is a subsidiary of the Green Party, operating over the past few years to encourage voters to get involved on all levels of government.
Nice. Despite the fact that Canada's unemployment is at its lowest rate in 43 years, Alberta's oil and gas sector is still struggling. How will your party address the needs of Alberta's economic woes?
We feel we need to embrace the inevitable energy transition in order to diversify our economy to improve it. We need a just transition for current petrochemical workers, and as many of their skills are easily transferable to the renewable energy sector, we can provide an extremely high amount of jobs for working Albertans. Between erecting new infrastructure, retrofitting current buildings, and reclaiming or converting orphan wells throughout our province into geothermal wells, we will ultimately be enhancing our economy while transitioning. We also seek to replace current social security nets with a guaranteed livable income program, provide all Canadians with universal pharmacare, and safe and affordable housing, and improve our system for taxing carbon through a carbon fee and dividends program. And as we continue to embrace technology, we also need to provide a just transition for industrial workers seeing decreased employment due to automation. To pay for this, we plan on ceasing subsidies to fossil fuel industry, federal tax reform, we're far overdue, it's been since 1960 was the last one, and we have a proposed wealth tax along with other fair taxation ideas.
Nice. Can Canada transform its energy sector while taking meaningful action to protect the environment?
100%, and it definitely doesn't involve continuing investments in the fossil fuel industry, as that is the only industry we continue to subsidize. That taxpayer money should be redirected towards our national energy transition and our proposed national electricity grid program, providing benefits for all Canadians instead of transnational corporations.
One of the biggest issues across the country is healthcare. Whether it's the cost of drugs, wait times, or the opioid crisis, what does your party plan to do about it?
Well, healthcare is generally a provincial issue. However, there is some federal oversight. Greens propose universal pharmacare, as I've mentioned, affordable dental, and personally, I'd like to see an actual universal healthcare program, including optical and currently uninsured services, along with improving accessibility to healthcare for all Canadians. Especially rurally, that's something we definitely struggle with here. We also want to improve the nation's understanding and approach to treatment of mental health, including addiction. We'd like to decriminalize all drug possession, as Portugal did approximately 18 years ago, effectively treating those with addiction as any other health concern instead of as a crime. and thereby relieving our current justice system while focusing on rehabilitation and care. With this improved understanding of mental health and in our healthcare system, we will declare an opioid emergency, tackling this national addiction crisis. These mental health services, along with guaranteed livable income and other social security nets, will also reduce our society's collective financial strain and overall stress.
And despite these far-reaching national and provincial issues, what do you feel is the single biggest issue for residents of the Sturgeon River-Parkland riding, and how will you and your party address it?
Ooh, the single biggest issue. I would have to say for us, it's agricultural and food security. Last year alone, our province's agricultural net income decreased by 68% due to changing climates and the abundance of wildfire smoke we dealt with that effectively blocked out a lot of the sunlight. This year, due to the abundance of rain and lack of sun again, many of our local crops were late a month or two or almost completely rotted, with up to 80% of rot reported from farmers in Lac St. Anne County. We need to offer more supports for our farmers, whether it be financial incentives and grants or improving legislation to promote ecosystem services and regenerative agricultural practices. We need to encourage biodiversity instead of monoculture, considering our soil quality and water supplies. Greens would like to see a push for local domestic food production to ensure food security for our farmers and potential farmers, that they can be prosperous and successful, which we can't do until we reduce financial strain and legislative restrictions most Canadian farmers currently face.
Thank you. We have 7 rapid questions so that the voters can get to know you on a more personal level.
Okay.
So, first question for you. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's a good question. I have to remember back that far. I believe I wanted to be a vet, and until I found out that you had to deal with sick animals, and then that made me very sad. So I don't think I could be a vet.
Oh, that's kind of sad. What's the first film you ever remember seeing in a movie theater?
I want to say I probably saw a couple of Disney movies, but the first one I really remember seeing was Hook.
Nice.
Yeah. And I remember leaving the movie theater trying to fly, jump up in the sky. I don't know if I could fly.
What's your favorite thing to do when you have downtime?
When I have downtime, I would say hang out with my daughter and my husband.
Oh,
Yeah.
Family person?
Yeah.
Cute. What musician is always on your playlist?
I would say Led Zeppelin.
Nice. What's your go-to comfort food?
I do like ice cream. Ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
I actually make my own ice cream, so whatever we have on tap. Usually it's something with fruit.
That's interesting, actually. What TV series are you binge watching at the moment?
At the moment, let me think. I haven't had too much time lately with the campaign, but I would have to say, what did I watch recently? Carnival Row. I watched recently, and it was fairly good.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's on Amazon Prime.
Thank you. If you could travel anywhere on the planet, where would you go?
The Galapagos Islands.
I don't know where that is, but it sounds nice.
It's in the Pacific.
Oh, okay. And final question. What separates you from the other candidates, and why should voters support you and your party on election day?
I'm a real person who is ambitious to improve our government in a genuine and transparent way to benefit all Canadians. I want to represent the constituents of our riding by asking questions, considering all views presented, and challenging the status quo when necessary. I believe voters in our riding should vote Green because our party has one of the most comprehensive platforms I've ever seen. And Greens take a triple bottom line approach to policy creation, meaning we consider all the ecological, economical, and social effects of our policies to offer practical solutions to current issues Canadians face for an optimal future. Increasing Green representation in our Parliament is long overdue.
Well, Thank you for coming out here today
Thank you
and
for
having
having
this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Thanks for watching our continuing federal election coverage, and be sure to get out and vote on Monday, October 21st.